Welcome back. It has been a while, and there is a reason. In the upper right hand corner where we see this arrow going off, that notification just won't seem to go away. Every single time I load into this simulator, it's telling me that I have a notification, and it is always a notification about the marketplace. Yep, absolutely. Exactly what you would think. It's basically an advertisement that says, some of the aircraft that you had in the previous version of the simulator are now available in 2024 for an additional cost. So yeah, there's that. First and foremost is the one thing that reminds you every day about Sim Update 2 is now that's there every single time you load into the simulator. Of course, you guys know that I am a search and rescue channel, and we've been doing a lot of the career mode stuff. And let's go over some of the things that we're seeing inside of career mode that are also rearing their head from Sim Update 2. First of all, what we're going to do, let's kill this. Music goes away. We're going to bring in a little bit of a quote from the most recent dev stream, and here we go. This is Sebastian.
Loving the sim, but the setup of peripherals is still a major pain point for me. Are there any plans to improve or simplify this process?
Yeah, so I discussed with the design team, and they said that in Simulator 2 there was already 28 improvements on this peripheral setup page, and there is still 10 more planned for Simulator 3. And yeah, same thing. After that, if there's more feedback or ideas or requests, feel free to share these, and the team will look at them and try to implement or fix them as soon as they can. And so yeah, 10 more coming in Simulator 3 on this issue.
Okay, 28 improvements to the peripheral setups have already been made as far as Sim Update 2, with 10 more planned for Sim Update 3. We all know that if we're going to set up our peripherals, we're going to go into the settings, and we're going to try this. Now, mind you, I'm not even trying to set up peripherals. These are peripherals that have existed since the launch of 2024. If I go into controls, I wish I had a timer on screen, but let's watch just how long this takes to load the keyboard preset configurations you see on the left-hand lower corner of the screen. How long does this take? Was this one of the improvements that was made? You can't even see what configuration your preset is at that given moment. You have to wait for it to load, and wait for it, and wait for it. So you guys know that I'm not a big guy to complain about anything. There's a lot of things, like I said, in the description that have gone really well. There are a lot of improvements have been made. But 28 improvements to the peripheral setups doesn't seem like it's anything noticeable. Even if you're trying to go in and say, now I want to try to change something on my throttle. I'm choosing throttle, I'm selecting it, left clicking it, and it's doing nothing. The check mark over keyboard is still there. The simulator is basically hanging on this screen. I don't know if this is happening to everybody or if it's just me. If I need to do another uninstall, reinstall, let me know in the comments if you guys are experiencing this same issue, trying to change even something like the curves of your controller's settings. Does it just hang for you, or are you guys able to get in? There you go. How long did that take? Come on. All right, so I've got the H145 controls up here, but I'm on the H145 here, but I want to fly a different aircraft. So now, okay, I'm going to try to change the aircraft. Nope, non-responsive. Change to throttle. There we go. Now I have to wait for that throttle presets configuration window to load on the left-hand side. If I go in and try to search by input and put something in, yes, it recognizes the input when you search, but it's not displaying any results, even though I know that this is all mapped already. So I'm not sure what the 28 improvements that they claim were done are, but I'm not seeing any of them. Either way, I dyed the grass. Let's go ahead and get into some more things about this that are just a little bit ridiculous. We'll fly a mission. Let's fly some search and rescue. Right? That's what we're here to do. So, we're in the freelancer mode. We're on the planet, and I've been doing a lot of purchasing of land and area around the world for quite a while now. You can see that I have a lot of this unlocked. We do see search and rescue missions, but when we get close to these, you're going to find that the majority of these are all offshore. So these are going to be those hoist rescue missions all over the place. There's a lot of them, but they're extremely repetitive missions. Once you get the hang of recovery over water, it's very easy to do. Now, there are a ton of them. I'll give them that. However, where are the missions over land? Those are still being generated from the original launch. And once again, once you play these missions, they go away for about a day, sometimes two, and then they'll just come back. But again, the majority of these missions for search and rescue are offshore. There's a lot of them. But, yeah. Okay. So here's another issue with this. It's going to say that I need 64,400 credits to move my aircraft. Fine. I'm okay with that. I've got a lot of money in the bank. It's cool. But, where are my aircraft on the planet? Here we go. So here's a whole bunch of them. If I hover over this cursor with the airplane, right click, you can see that it's an Airbus H125. What it fails to tell you is whether or not that is a hoist capable aircraft, or if that's going to be an aircraft that you use for search and rescue missions over the land, because as of now, those are both this different aircraft, right? And again, it just doesn't tell you what kind of aircraft it is. You pretty much have to know that this one's over land, so this should be one of those that's capable of doing an overland rescue. But when you start to get into, say you have something on the side for your passenger flights, if you're doing the flight seeing missions to just gain hours towards your passive incomes, where do you find that? Right? It becomes very difficult to locate your specific aircraft on the planet. If you start throwing in a little bit of, fixed wing, if you have any cargo missions, or like the PC-24 I have here that's doing the medevac missions, you really kind of have to search for them or just know which aircraft is where. Here's the Saab 340 that we still can't even use yet, but it does run passive income. Right? There's another Saab 340. But wouldn't it be nice if you were able to find out what aircraft this is from way out here? So let's see what happens when we fly one of these missions. We'll just dive right in. It has been a long time since I have been able to do one of these streams. Life has been extremely busy as of late, and frankly, because of Sim Update 2 and some of the frustrations that we had prior, they're still present, and I don't feel like much work is being done, maybe even doing some backpedaling in the process. So I haven't been flying the simulator that much at all anymore. Hopefully things turn around with Sim Update 3, which so far I don't see any word on when that's going to happen. But if there's 10 more improvements to be made to the setups of peripherals alone, we should be doing pretty good. One thing I'll also say here is, again, I like to point out some of the positives here, and I'll start off by saying that frame rates right now are a lot better than we've seen prior. They have done quite a bit to work on that. However, one of the greatest things that I've done is I've switched back to a 1080p monitor, and it's very high megahertz refresh rate, and that seems to be helping more than even the 2080 Ti graphics card that I'm using. I know you guys are familiar with my specs, but if you're new to the channel, this is what I'm running. And things are looking pretty good. Let me know what you think in the comments. And here's one thing that we'll start off with once we load in here. We're going to make sure that this switch right here, that's the cockpit lights, is in the off configuration, right? So when we do fire up our battery and that oh, wait a minute, it should not have turned on. That display should be off. And then I should be able to select a daytime light or nighttime. That has actually gone backwards from its original configuration at launch. We're moving backwards. Everything else for startup is the same as usual, except for now we have to undo the parking brake every time. I don't remember having to do that prior, but now you have to make sure you release your parking brake every time you go to start up. There we go. Let's get this bird started. And the iPad here is now at a home screen every time. Instead of just loading the flight planner in by default, it now takes a little bit of time to load your flight path in every time. It is still defaulting to this teardrop movement. But we're looking pretty good. We'll put up the Windows G right here for this so you guys can see what kind of frame rates I'm getting out of this. Again, with the 2080 Ti, pushing 40, and I am running my settings on Ultra across the board at this point. Things are looking extremely good, if you ask me. Be curious to see what you guys think, if you notice the difference at all. Let's go ahead and contact ground.
Scout 1-4 SAR Heli 241, ready to depart.
SAR Heli 241 Scout 1-4, clear to go. Thanks for speeding things up. As you know, we have a situation here. Here's a quick recap. We've just got an alert. A leisure ship is in distress in the Gulf of Guinea waters. The skipper and passengers had just the time to jump in lifeboat, but no one can locate him around since then. Can you give it a shot for us? It's getting late anyway. I'll be online the whole time to coordinate with other authorities.
I'm walking here.
Pemba ground, SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412. Request taxi for west departure.
SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412. Taxi to and hold short of runway 02 via taxiway. Contact tower on 121 decimal tree when ready.
Taxi to and hold short runway 02 using taxiway. SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412.
I actually think the graphics are looking a lot better than they used to. It has been a while since we have been online. How has your experience been going since Sim Update 2 was put into play? Still doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever why we need to do all of this hold short stuff. It's absolute nonsense. Can we please just take off from the ramp?
Pemba Tower, SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412. Ready for west departure at runway 02.
SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412. QNH 101 tree west departure approved. Cleared for takeoff, runway 02.
Cleared for takeoff runway 02. SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412.
And we have had some viewers asking some questions about the peripheral setups of their aircraft and how they were able to get them set up. I'm curious to see how that's been going for you guys. Have you been able to figure it out? It takes a lot more patience than I think it ever should require, but it is possible. You just have to sit there and wait and wait and wait for all of that to catch up. Bring in our EFD here. We'll just climb up to that 300.
CR Heli 241 Scout 14, hope you'll get on site fast. Seconds count.
You and me
This
both,
area
kiddo.
is very hostile. Anything can happen down
SAR
there.
Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412. Continue for west departure.
Pemba Tower, SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412. Continue for west departure.
One of the biggest changes that they have made to this type of mission set, where we're going to be going out over the water and doing the hoist rescue, is they have included a little bit of a blue basket target around the raft once you make contact and you're ready to start beginning your hoist. It's a little bit annoying. I kind of like the challenge of not having it there. It is something that I think that should be an option to have. The visual assistants right now in career mode are completely either just the pin on your search area approach. The flight path boxes are no longer visible when you're using the visual assistants. That's also something that has changed. Again, I'm not sure if that's something that you're going to be able to disable inside of the settings. Frankly, I haven't had the patience to sit there and wait that long through their peripheral setups to get it done or even try. But yeah, a lot has changed to the visual assistance as of the sim update 2 as well. Not a real big fan of it.
SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412. Leaving my airspace. Frequency change approved.
Pemba Tower, SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412. Frequency change.
I'm curious if you guys have used the in-cockpit method while doing these overseas rescue hoist missions. I think it's becoming a little bit easier to do them from in the cockpit now that the little blue baskets are there. But again, I don't like to use it, but it's not a choice. It's not an option. They have to be there, apparently.
SAR Heli 241, how's it going on your end? Hope you'll be on site soon. We have to find him fast. Everyone here is stressed, and we don't want anyone deciding to conduct the search themselves.
It's pretty fantastic that we're only using 70% of the GPU. 46 frames per second. Let's see if we put this up here. That's not going to work either, will it? All right. One of the things that I'm doing to improve frame rates is using the NVIDIA app and doing the built-in overclock. And I am letting the system actually dictate how it overclocks the simulator. And that's been doing a really good job. I can push it even further when I'm not streaming at the same time. Of course, we have the smoke from our boat off to our 1, maybe 2 o'clock. And again, if you haven't been on this channel before, I've kind of got a little bit of a technique to getting these sort of missions done. I'm going to kind of come in at this on a little bit of an angle. Instead of going right down the middle of the pipe, I'm going to start to veer off to the left a little bit while I scan the horizon. And then I'm going to kind of cut the circle in half. And while I do that, I'm going to keep an eye on my horizon and look for that reflective mirror. And I try to stay around the 500-foot mark to do this. Let's start breaking off our flight path a little bit.
His relatives told us Juma doesn't know the site pretty well, but we think he might have managed to take shelter somewhere safe.
Curious what methods you guys are using to approach these rescue missions.
Glad you're on site. You're over the search zone. Locate the lifeboat now and fast.
I'm working
His boat
on
is
it.
orange. Maybe this will help you spot something in that landscape.
Landscape. Do you really think the ocean? I digress. It's a nice landscape. Thanks for joining along tonight, guys. Good to see you. How's your experience been with the sim update number 2? Has it been a number 2 for you, or how's your experience been? Starting to get a little bit too high off the ground here. And now we're going to come back and kind of cut the bubble. A visual.
got a visual of the boat. SAR Heli 241, Scout 1-4 got a visual. He managed to find refuge in a safe spot. Coordinates 5 south, 39 east.
Well done. The lifeboat should be drifting close by. You're almost there.
Skyhook, we're on site.
Roger that. Preparing the hoist now. Air Dock 4 is securing the target in the harness. Preparing to lift up now. Cable is tensioning.
Air Dock 4 to
Easy
Skyhook.
breezy.
Ready to lift.
Air Dock 4 and victim coming in the cabin. Air Dock 4 is in the cabin. Hoist complete. Hook stowed. Cargo door closed. Cabin is secure.
So now there are a ton of these missions, but like once you do one, you've done them all. The only difference is really like where you are on the planet. I have yet to see one of these take place at night. Why they're not available at night is another thing that just doesn't make sense. Got our pattern entry over 16 nautical miles away. I would really love the challenge of a nice searchlight.
We're on board. Moving us away now. Notify Scout 1-4.
Something like, you know, you
Scout
could do with the
1-4.
H-145.
Victim extracted. We're on the go.
I'd love to be able to see that in this aircraft.
Captain, everything seems fine, but I need to be sure. So fly him nice and slow.
And I want to see that hoist extend. You know, it just stays locked against the body the entire time. I don't know what they are fixing with their sim updates, but so far I don't think the helicopter community has seen many of the results of any of these fixes. And a lot of the times when you're coming back to your departure airport for your arrival, it's going to tell you, say you're going to go to runway 09. And then you approach 09, and it tells you, oh, you landed at the wrong one, where it expected you to land at 18. So, yeah. I don't know when that's going to be fixed, but that's another great option. The helicopter community just seems to be really taking a
You're
back
safe
seat
now,
here,
Juma.
and I'm anxious to see how long it takes.
I'm a rescue medic. Won't be long to get you to Chake. Are you all right?
This is scary. Just give me a minute. I know hoisting is quite intense. Don't worry. I'll be here with you every step of the way.
And of course, when we do these streams, we always do them live, so feel free to ask any questions that you have in the chat. Let me know what your experience is. Let's have that conversation. Let me know what you got going on. Of course, someday this will turn into a replay, but if you're watching it now, feel free to join in.
I bet you're thirsty, right? Water or rehydration drink if you feel you need some. If you have something sweet, I think a bit of sugar will help. Thanks.
How about a cup of coffee? Coffee sounds good to me.
Emma Tower, SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 541211 miles, west 1,400 feet to land.
SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo.
Enter left traffic runway 02. SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412.
02 is what it's expecting. Let's see if it's actually going to follow through this time and actually bring us down to 02. These missions are just extremely repetitive. And with having opened up so much of the planet and still not seeing very many additional actual rescue missions on land, it's pretty disappointing, and I'm just anxious to see what's going to go on with that. But even more so, I am really looking forward to Miltech coming out with this bad boy right here. It's the MH60. They're making a ridiculous amount of progress with it, and they've put out some great information about it, and that is one thing that I cannot wait for.
I was wondering, do you always fly with the same team? It depends on the mission and the criticity, but I usually partner with Judith, my hoist manager.
SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412. Windcom. Clear to land runway 02.
Clear to land runway 02. SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412.
La-ti-da.
That's quite a nasty cut you've got there. Let me clean that up. Yes, it's nothing. Thanks. Done and dusted.
It'll never cease to amaze me. Done and dusted. Yeah, bro. Let's hit some powder. Alright, well, our flight path does include the teardrop to runway 02. So we'll see. It's going to go with the correct approach this time, hopefully.
SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412. Turn next taxiway. SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412. Contact ground on 121.7.
So one thing that we've also got right here is we have the hold short box on the wrong side of the hold short line. So it's probably going to wind up dinging me for entering a taxiway without acknowledging it. We'll see what happens. I'll try to just barely skate over the top of the border here.
SAR Heli 241
Gotta
Sierra
play the
Alpha
game.
Romeo 5412. Taxi to parking.
SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412. Taxi to general aviation parking using taxiway.
Taxiing to general aviation parking via taxiway. SAR Heli 241 Sierra Alpha Romeo 5412.
I think at this point I have a little bit over 40 aircraft in the hangar, and I can make around 4 million credits for every hour that I fly passively. So as far as that goes, things are going along pretty smoothly, I would say. Putting more aircraft around the planet at this point doesn't even really make sense. I am, however, looking forward to the heavy lift airliner stuff that is said to be coming out with Sim Update 3, believe it or not. I'm very curious to see what that's going to be like. Why it wasn't available at launch is another conversation in and of itself. And if I'm not mistaken, this new animation with our ground crew has been brought into Sim Update 2. It seems like every time we land the chopper now, this guy is actually out here giving us hand signals.
Team, congrats. That's the reason why we all do this job, and when we pull it off, it feels great.
Doesn't it? It feels so great. Let's just go ahead and shut it down. Normally I would wait till that thing comes down to, we get an RPM here of 70, but let's just, for the sake of time, go ahead and shut this bad boy down now. Sim Update 2, in my opinion, has not really done anything for the helicopter community. It's made getting into the peripherals much more difficult, I think, than it had prior. My overall just response to Sim Update 2 is another overwhelming disappointment. There are, like I said, some great things that went along with it. There is now frame gen available in the settings as well. If you weren't familiar with that, it is now an option within the settings menus, and it is available for pretty much every graphics card. Some are specific to the 40 series and above. We'll take a peek at that here in just a second. Earn a little bit of cash on the side, still maintaining that solid S reputation. We're about to level up to 442. I'm okay with it. Let's see. So in the settings now, when you're in your graphics settings, there is the frame gen option, and right now I have it set to none. I haven't even tried using it while streaming, but there is an NVIDIA DLSS frame gen that boosts frame rates by using the AI to render additional frames, which requires, like I said, the 40 series or above, and then the AMD series for anybody with cards lesser than that. And I have one that is AMD's, the 2080 Ti, so that's what I would use, right? So let's see what happens now. Before I was getting the 40-ish frame rate. So if I were to go back and let's just do a free flight here real quick and get an idea of what we're doing frame rates. So if we come into this, we'll discover something else with Sim Update 2 that has me literally beside myself. We'll come down and just go into our good old friend reunion in the 145. Now, as you've seen before, I have had this aircraft working, I would say flawlessly. And then Sim Update 2 hit. Ah, yes, the load times. We're going to come in at night, because why not? We still do get that loud burst of the engine once it does load in. We start to see the pilot light. Wait a minute, it wants an activation key all of a sudden. Check key in present. So we can't go into the menu. It just shuts the iPad. The activate product is now listed across all of my PFDs. And yeah, all my Garmin's are gone. All of the graphics that were there are gone. Nothing else has changed, just Sim Update 2. And let's go ahead and see what happens if I raise and lower my collective. Absolutely nothing. If I single my cyclic, yeah, I get some response out of that. I can sit here and do that. However, no cyclic control whatsoever. So again, the first thing I'm going to have to do is let's see what happens if I try to go into my controls for this aircraft. Now it has me on throttle, which is nice. And I'm going to search by input, scan it forward, and there's nothing there. You've seen me fly this helicopter before. I have done nothing to the settings of this helicopter. And they said that 28 improvements were made to the peripheral setups. 28. What are they? What did they do? Does anyone know where I can find that list? I'm sure it's on the Microsoft website, this, that, and the other thing. But man, if you could just tell me in the comments if you already know, what did they do? Sebastian, if you want to reach out personally, I'd very much appreciate an explanation of what 28 improvements were made to this specific part of the simulator. Because this is painful. And I'm not going to put my viewers through it. I'm actually out for the night. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you being here. I say it all of the time. It's been a blast. It's been a ball. For now, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for coming along for the ride. See you soon.